Brief rundown of what I'm doing and what I'm planning. I guess what I do now is I'm a safety advisor for the theme parks, in particular Village Roadshow theme parks. And I've been there for 17 years this year. And what a job! It's a great place to work. It really is a great place to work. I started out actually even before that. I was in a duo called Silent Passenger, and the guy was a singer and a player, and I was there sort of to support him as a guitar player. He was a sax player, keyboard player, brilliant voice, a brilliant player, fantastic musician. But we used to park in the car park at Movie World, and I'd leave my car there, and then we'd go to a gig, and then I'd come back and get my car. So we weren't both travelling in cars. And I used to say to him, I will get a job in here one day. And lo and behold, I did. But even the to get that job, and this is where it comes back to being right. I keep saying, you get out of life what you put in. Okay, and this is just another example of that. They were looking for a Robin, and because of having a martial arts background, this was great. I had short hair, didn't look like a surfer like I have now. I was a lot younger, but I went in, got down to the final two people, didn't get the gig, and I was so disappointed. And when we got down, they said to me at the time, they said, "Oh, you're too small for the suit." And I'm like, "Oh." So what did I do? I went and put in what I was going to get out. So I went to the gym, and within 3 months, I put on 20 kilos. I was built like a brick shit house. I was lifting when I was setting up for the band stuff. I was lifting stuff, and the partner I was working with, he'd be just looking at, and he was a decent sized guy. He'd go, "Dude," he says, "how the hell are you lifting that sort of stuff?" Anyway, went back for another audition for Robin. I walk in. What do I get? "You're too big." I'm like, "Oh my god." Anyway, um, and I kept saying, "I'm going to get a job in there. I will get a job." What the fascination was, I'm not too sure, but whether it was the grandeur of being Hollywood or being such an open platform. And next minute, I get a phone call. Um, would I be interested in going for a job as an audio technician? And I thought, sure, why not? Because of having a music background and setting up your music gear, doing music, doing all that sort of stuff. It's got to pay off somewhere, not just for what I do. I walk in, this guy's got a little PA, pulls it apart, puts it together. I pull it apart, put it together. He goes behind the back of it, changes some things. He goes, "Tell me why this isn't working." And I walked in and went, "That's why." Easy, bang, plugged in. Get the job. And that's how it started. So from that, then all of a sudden, um, I was playing Buddy Holly in the tribute shows that they were doing, and because um, show secret, we'd mime the guitar stuff, but we'd sing live, right? So to come out to do, um, I'd actually learnt the guitar solo. So when I've come out to sing "That'll Be the Day," I'm actually playing the solo with nothing plugged in, but they've just gone, "Job, you've got the job." That was another job that I got because of what I get out what I put in, and this is probably going to be a recurring thing through this chapter is you do get out of life what you put in. If you put in negative, you're going to get out negative. If you put in good, you're going to get back good. If you put in hard, you're going to get back hard, and it does translate to everything. And I think for music, for me, that's taught me, um, in particular for me taking that all that time off, that has shown me what you get out what you put in. There's hurdles that you'll go through in life, absolutely, and you will be tested, and sometimes it's you're not going to be able to jump over that hurdle um, without the help of people as well. So um, you're not on your own. Um, you may seem like you are at times, but we all have a long walk. to go through, you know. So don't ever think you're on your own, but it's there is times you think, what am I doing, you know? But then it all clicks, for the good or the bad. Um, it does click in. Um, so then I got the audio gig, and then I was doing the Buddy Holly stuff, and then it was, oh, Sean, would you be interested in singing Paradise Country and singing during the lunchtime sessions? So, sure. So you get up there singing a bit of country stuff and sort of Aussie country, and obviously playing international artists, guests. They don't know any Australian songs, so you're sitting there to a dead audience, and that prompted me to start introducing playing a didgeridoo, because you can't get much more Aussie on an instrument than a didgeridoo. And so I'd been learning the didgeridoo previously. That opened up a lot of things for me. Then I was doing whip shows, cracking whips and all that sort of stuff. So all of a sudden, I've created, from an opportunity that I've got from work, I've put myself into that, which has opened up another door. And a long story short on that one, Tourism Queensland from Korea are sitting there having a luncheon. Then they've approached me at the end and said, would you be interested in singing at our 10-year anniversary? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, sure. And they've said in Korea. And I've gone, well, I've got to check with my boss if that's okay. And the long out of that was, I travelled the world from that, and I would get up, sing a few songs, do some whip cracking, never do whip crapping, because that never works. Whip cracking, that's one of the hardest tongue twisters to say, is whip cracking. Never crapping, it's never good, don't do that live. Um, and so I was doing boomerangs, and all around the world. I was throwing boomerangs over the harbour at Hong Kong, and in India, all through Malaysia, Jakarta. So I've been to places I would never ever have thought to go, and I will never knock back those memories that were handed to me because of what I put in. So again, you put in, you get back, and it's a universe, right? There's some of you might think the universe and all this sort of stuff, but there's got to be times where you've got to stop and go, hang on a second, you're being rewarded for what you're giving. So we're all under this in the same roof. We're all under this big dome in this atmosphere of the earth, and we should all be giving and taking, and being even and being kind and all that sort of stuff. I said to you before, you give what you get, and I think the more that we give back, especially in these times, the more we're going to get back. You know, that's transgressing off to what we're talking about. And then all of a sudden, um, going back to work, they had character suits, you know, Bugs Bunny and all that. And I'm going, that looks it's just a cool looking job to have. And so I auditioned, and you have to dance. Now, being a musician, you'd think I'd have some sort of bodily rhythm. I used to teach ballroom dancing in primary school, right? So you kind of think, and I thought, oh, I've got this. Well, I've discovered in my later years, my musical rhythm body has about as much. It's got about as much rhythm as a fence post. So, so in the dance part of it, I'm trying to do a box step and all this, and I had no idea what this sort of stuff. And I'm all over the shop, and I've come out the back and I'm stressed out. And a young girl, Rhiannon, she came over to me and she's given me a quick help, going, "Oh, you've got to do this, do this." Anyway, so we go back in, and they're doing a box step and throwing their arms up and getting down, and all of a sudden I notice when everybody's up, I'm down, and then everybody's down, I'm up, and I'm just thinking, oh, this is bad. Anyway, I'll walk away from it going, oh well, I've auditioned at least. I get a phone call in, oh, I think it was almost a week later. I went, oh, you've got the job as Bugs Bunny, and I've gone, did you not see me dancing? And the girl in HR said, yes, we're still laughing, we're watching the video. Well, I've gone. Well, I'm slightly confused. As she said, look, your character work was so strong that we created a walkabout shift, and we want you to do the walkabout character as Bugs Bunny. So I came out. My first character was Foghorn Leghorn. Still to this day, if I could ever get back in that suit, and sometimes I have. Favourite suit to do, but so I started doing character suits and Scooby Doo and Sylvester and all the tall suits. I was even Princess Fiona, the ogre one, obviously. So I had to learn to walk like a Princess Fiona ogre style. So there's always challenges that sort of came up, and leading into what I do now, I hurt my back opening the show rehearsal for the Scooby Doo Detective Show, and literally had to go to hospital. And my upper thoracic had just frozen shut, and had to get wheeled out in a wheelchair and had to go to hospital. And I didn't have any operations or anything. It was just how my back had just frozen at that time, and it really limited me to doing character suit work after that. So part of the light duty stuff that I was doing, um, instead of sitting in wardrobe and helping the ladies out there in the wardrobe duties, um, I worked with the safety guy and said that is there some stuff that I can do for you, because I do training, all the rest of it. He goes, yes, I'm behind in my fire training, and next minute I'm out doing fire training. Then all of a sudden he's going, oh, you seem to really like this sort of work. Can you come and work 1 or 2 days? So then I'd do 1 or 2 days with the safety guy. Then I'd show tech for police academy, or do some show and entertainment shifts and all that sort of stuff. And then next minute he's left, and they've turned around, the big bosses, and gone, well, it looks like you, mate. Do you want the job? I said, yep, I'll take it. And so I went and had a meeting with the entertainment manager and the general manager and or the operations manager. And one of them said to me, Sean, they're big shoes to fill. And my response was, I'll wear more socks, and I'll take my socks off as I go. And that's exactly what I did. So, and that's, if someone says to you, it's a big job, or big shoes to fill, you just put more socks on. You'll make it fit. Um, One of the best things that always happens to me is getting thrown to the wolves, and I tend to thrive on that. Even with music stuff, how I became a lead singer, singing at my local venue. We'd lost a singer, another guy was singing. Then 2 or 3 days beforehand, I get a phone call. I quit, mate. And we're at a point where you're busting for dollars, like you need money, and you do what you can for money. And it was, I was on the phone to him writing lyrics out to songs, and then all of a sudden, I'm a front man for a band, lead singer, and I, I won't look back on time, because that catapulted me into what I do now, for my music stuff. Uh, was that a big job to take on? Yes, it was, but I just had to wear more socks. And now I just wear one pair of socks, and they're mine. They're no one else's, and I've gone forward with that. It's funny when you're talking, you realise how much your little stories, the walk that you're going on, it's one path you're happening. For me, there's no left and right path. But once you've taken that walk, that's your path. It's You can certainly think coulda, shoulda, woulda, but you're not there. You're not on that path. This is your path you're on. So you've got to make it work. You have to make this work for yourself and for others around you. It's oddly enough, it's these things don't fall into place for a lot of us until we get older. With age comes wisdom. You hear it all the time. You tell a teenager, and I still hear the words of parents and elder people saying to me, if you do this, don't do that. I'm right. I'm okay. I've got this. Yeah, but you don't. You might you might think you do, but you don't. Um, the consistency of hearing that message though does pay off. I will say that. With my kids, for instance, I've heard the advice I've given to say one of my kids, drumming it, and I was consistent all the time, consistent, knowing that it's not going in and it's coming out. But eventually, something stops it going out and it sits in. And there was a time there, in one instance, I could hear my daughter on the phone talking to a friend of hers going through problems. And I can hear her, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, that's me. I can hear me. She's talking on the advice that I gave her as a child and growing up. And that's all of a sudden I'm going, it does pay off. So as a parent or as a teacher, with anything you do, be consistent and don't stop. You're giving. That's what you're doing. You're not only you're telling someone or giving them advice, you're giving them something. Whether you think they're going to get it, teenagers obviously, they're the hardest. But there is a point, and you all know it as adults. Most of the time, you're going to look back and go, oh, so right. So with age comes wisdom, right? With age comes wisdom. Um, so that's kind of guess what we set out with this chapter, um, for here. Let's move on. Let's have a look at what we've got. Go through my little cards, Michelle. So just in case you haven't seen them, these are our professionally done the Couch Out Loud cards. Here we go. Background. I think I've given you a fair bit of background. Quickly on myself. Um, as I said earlier, Mum separated from my dad. I think I was about 18 months old, thereabouts. And there was something that happened. I think Grandma on Mum's side that passed away. That might be another time. Anyway, something happened within the family, and Mum sort of said to me, "Oh, do you want to meet your father?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, yeah, I do, you know," because I'd never even seen a photo of him. So all I got was Dad was a cross between Johnny Cash and Jack Palance. So for the younger people out there watching, you probably know who Johnny Cash is, but look up Jack Palance. An actor. So that was kind of that was always the image that I had, and I think I favoured um, Jack Palance as an actor because I thought he looked like my dad. You know what I mean? I sort of look at I can see the resemblance now when I sort of see it, but he was no Jack Palance, but I could see the resemblance. And the Johnny Cash look come out because he had dark hair and shoulder length hair, and he had that till the day he died, from a few years back. So I went down and met him, and I met this guy that's at Nana Bell's house, and he was on the phone at the time when we first walked in, and he was talking Italian and a mix of Italian and Spanish, and I'm thinking, because I had a strong interest in Spanish language as well, and and the playing of the flamenco music and Spanish music, um, and me being 17 and fit and all the rest of it, um, we got out onto the beach and I was talking to Dad, and then he was off talking to Mum, and I remember jumping around like I was like a circus performer, because I wanted to impress Dad and just go, you know, this is what I could do, you know, and we kind of left. I had some photos and saw Nana Bell, and I loved her. She was lovely, growing up as a kid. But again, they always kept the distance. Dad was always never told where I was, and so I never had the opportunity for accidental meetings. So it was all very orchestrated, for reasons that, you know, like back in that time, I think Dad was an alcoholic, some shitty sort of stuff happened, but then I think after I left or Mum had left, he went off the wagon and didn't drink a drop until the day he died, which was some 40 or 50 years. It was a long time that he hadn't had anything. Um, but in that interim, anyway, so I kind of got to. He'd write me a lot of letters, and when I first met him, I actually kind of wanted to lay into him because I didn't know. All I heard was the shit. Just heard the bad stories. Um, and you get what you give, right? So, and what I mean by that is, if you hear enough bad, you're gonna give bad. And this it goes back to what I keep saying about this walk that we go on. If you get good, you give good. If you get good thoughts, you have good thoughts. If you get negative thoughts, it doesn't take long for negative thoughts to be your negative thoughts. And if you've got no other way to process that, that's what they become, and that's what happened. Um, and my initial thoughts of when I first met my dad, that was what was going to happen because I thought, no, you did this to Mum because Mum was who raised me. That's all I had. But that quickly subsided. It did quickly subside. But then, yeah, going back, Dad was writing a lot of letters, and I didn't connect with Dad as close as I did when I was older. So I'd gone down for another thing, and I went and saw him. I went to his unit, and still to this day, I hadn't heard Dad play guitar. And I've gone to his unit, and I sit down and play this um, guitar of Dad's, and I pull this guitar out, and I'm just sort of just playing away, and he goes, "Wait a minute, can you just hang on a second?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So then he goes and gets an old tape deck, and for you younger generation, this is like a little machine, put a little square thing in with the ribbons on it, and you had to physically push down buttons. And you had to make on the back of the cassette too. There was a little tab in there. If that was broken off, you couldn't record. So sticky tape always fixed that problem. Michelle knows what I'm talking about.
How old were you when?
Then I would have been about 18, 19. So I'd gone back and seen him a couple of years later. So he pulls out this tape deck and goes, "Oh, can you just keep going?" So then, and I'm sitting there playing and you know, and he finished and stopped and had a bit of a chat, and then I was on my way again. And still hadn't heard him play. And unbeknownst to me, Dad would always write my phone number in permanent marker on his fridge, so he would never forget it. Right? And this is before mobile phones, I might add. So every time I'd move or get a different number, I'd have to ring him, and through certain people that said something, there he goes, the black marker pen, and he'd write my number down. Still hadn't really connected up with him a great deal. And then I went and saw him where 21, 22 years ago, unbeknownst that the partner I was with was longer actually. She was pregnant with my third son, Misu. Um, anyway, so I got down with Dad, and I think being on my journey and my walk, your concepts and your values change. You start to realise um, the values of certain things and aspects in life. Um, the family and friendship, they're two different things. When people say you can't choose your family, you can. Um, because I'm sure we all have members in the family that we just can't stand. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to put yourself into those positions where you're going to start filling yourself with those negative thoughts. You don't want them, right? So you can choose your family. You just don't have to talk, and you can choose your friends. But certainly on that, you start to value especially when you're getting older, you value the concept of friendship. And not only was I getting that and understanding it more, but I was understanding that connection and the friendship that I was having with my dad, which I didn't have. I wasn't having a family ship, I was having a friendship with him. And all of a sudden, it just opened up so much more being talking to him and understanding. He didn't go into a lot of stuff about the old days, and to which I didn't want to know then. Um, and I said earlier, you choose your path, and you woulda, coulda, shoulda. I didn't need to woulda, shoulda, coulda then. That was already gone, and I was now taking my next walk with my dad, you know, and he was a great guy. God, he was so good. He was funny. He was a genuine sort of guy, and if I can be half that when I leave this area, that's who I want to be. You know, I want to be able to be that person. Um, he's has he been an influence? Yeah, I guess he has. But in saying with the guitar playing, to the day he died, I never saw him play guitar, and yeah, I just didn't see. I never saw him play, which was disappointing, right? So because I play so much, but I went went down to go and see him. He rang me one time just a few years back, and out of the blue he says, "Oh, it's probably about time you come down for a visit, hey son." And I've gone, "What's wrong?" I said, "Where are you?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm in a hospital." Right, so all of a sudden he's in palliative care. And I've gone, "Right, okay." So jump on a plane, head down there. Had a mess up with trying to get a car. The schmozzle just to get to the hospital is one thing. But anyway, I was quite late. And as I was walking in, there's a story that matches up with this. As I was walking in, Dad's standing up, putting on a tie. And apparently Dad was just a business shirt and a tie guy. That's what he was. And he had a partner at the time, Bozana. And when I spoke to her later, she had said, um, we're sitting there talking, and the next minute, your father's jumped up out of bed and gone, "He's here." And she's going, "No, he's not. No, he's not here." He goes, "He's here," and got up. And as he was finishing his tie off, I walked around into the hospital. So there was, again, there's those connections um, that are there, even though we didn't spend a lifetime together. I guess without going too in the out there, I guess we've had a cosmic life together, you know, because the universe being a part of everything, we're all connected in some way or another. When his mum died, my grandmother, Grandma Bell, I I had dreamt. You know, sometimes you have a dream, you don't know whether it's kind of like a memory because it's so real. And there was one night, I and I know I was, well, I know I was dreaming because it had to be. That was the thought process. But I saw Grandma Bell Nana Bell in the doorway of the bedroom, right, and clear as. And when I woke up in the morning, I thought, "Oh, man, that was so real. It was like a memory. It was just something I was remembering that had happened." And the phone rang, and I hadn't heard from Dad from ages. It was Dad, and Nana Bell had passed away. And I'm just like, right, okay. So there was that sort of went on. So there was that sort of universe. It's another way. There's things that happen. Look where I live. I've got a woman by the name of Margaret that lives here. That's another complete story. You can't see her, but she's here, right? And then yeah, so the same thing with Dad when I've gone to the hospital with Dad, and he's known. So we there's it's got to tell you something, right? There's the universe, all these particles or whatever it is, however you want to do it, we're all floating around, all joining up. Do you want to be a part of negative, or do you want to be a part of positive? We have a choice. Get out what you put in, or what you put out to the universe. Um, you're going to get it back. Um, so saw Dad and Dad, he had nothing in his life except a good heart and good people around him. Um, and he goes, I suppose you want to see what I've left you, mate. And I'm going, well, no, we're cool, Dad. I'm just here to come to see you. And he pulls out a Spanish guitar, and he said, I'll be leaving you this. And he said, I've got a pool cue as well, because Dad was a bit of a pool player, a bit of a shark back in the day, I believe. And so I pulled out his guitar and I tuned it up, and I actually played a song. I won't play it here because I've got to retune. But I ended up calling it um, "The Circle of Life," and sat and played it. When I finished, I look over at Dad, and all he said to me was, "No one likes a smart ass, son." And I've gone, best compliment ever. Best compliment ever. I ended up playing that song. Dad died the next day, so he waited. Everyone said Dad waited for me to turn up, and he did. So he's was in the within the next day or the day after. It was like 2 days. He didn't last long, but when I saw him, he was fine. And then out of that, the door opened for the rest of the Bell family for me, because I'm standing next to Dad, who's almost in a coma before he passed. There's a couple of older guys there, and I'm standing there going, oh, how do you know Dad, you know? And they both looked and went, we're his brothers? I've gone, oh, and they've gone, Sean? And all of a sudden, that door has opened up, and we've gone back to Uncle Terry's place, and here's the sink we used to wash you in, Sean, and so they're still living in the same place, and Uncle Dennis, who turned into my second dad, him and Mum, Auntie Gail, they brought me in, and from that, they replaced my parents, because both my parents had passed, had gone since then, and they replaced that um, parent figures that I no longer had, because Mum passed away a few years before Dad, just due to she was in a scooter thing, and she went to get out of the scooter and fell out, hit her head on a pot plant, and went into they put her into a coma. She never came out, and I hadn't spoken to Mum for quite some time, and my brother rings me and goes, oh, this has happened to Mum, and I was at work, and I said, oh, I'll wait. I kind of put it off because we had a bit of shitty water under the bridge, and then I thought, no, I've got to go and see Mum, because I acted so late and I didn't get into me getting off my ass and thinking about myself too much and not others. I'm driving out of the driveway at work, and I get a phone call going, she's gone. So another life lesson to be had, right? You know, act straight away. Don't sit there with everything that you do. Don't think it's just going to happen. You've got to make it happen. If I wanted to see Mum before she died, I had to make that happen, and I didn't. You know, so that so the regrets that I have, that's probably one of them. But that was the path on my walk that I chose, and you've kind of got to accept. Look, some ideas that you have, and it's just going to be shit, and they're just going to be the wrong idea. But once you get through that, and as long as you've learnt from the mistakes, then continue back on your path. Take with you throughout your whole life mistakes, because you don't learn. I can't remember. That's a saying. So if you've made no mistakes, you haven't learnt anything, right? And again, the older you get, the more relevant all these sayings that you read. And I laugh on the internet, all the memes that sort of come out. And these are stuff that are time and tide, and they're true, and they're tested. And you see kids putting them out and going, yeah, you'll understand actually what that means in a couple of years' time, when you've made your own mistakes and you've learnt your own lessons in life.